PDFs are great because it means they look the same no matter where you're looking at them, but they're not the most interactive tool that we have, as I'm sure we've all run into. So, how do I make my PDFs more useful? It's probably why you're here today. The first question, does it need to stay a PDF? So, while you're thinking through, sometimes the final product needs to be in that exact format. We're thinking things like taxes, HR forms. There are lots of times that it needs to be in that exact format and you can't have deviations. But in education, maybe that's not always the case. So, can the original file be altered? One of the things with PDFs is they're often copyrighted and they're often held behind what's called DRM, digital rights management, where you can't really mess with the original. But if you can, maybe you should. Um, and then there are ways to take that original file and make it more interactive. We'll talk about that a little bit. If not, can you replicate the experience? Can you use G Suite tools or third party tools to add interactivity on top of the PDF? The answer is yes. And then the other thing to think about is, are there other ways to assess the learning, right? Like you can make a quiz if your PDF is just multiple choice and short answer, maybe that works better as a form or a quiz. Also, video responses are great, using things like Flipgrid or Screencastify to have your students think through their learning in another format. And there are ways that you can take paper and upload it into Classroom or other formats. So we'll talk about all of those things today. Now, the first thing is, if you have paper documents and you need to digitize them, there are ways that you can do this. On the Google Drive mobile app, it includes a way to scan PDFs. There are also other tools out there that can do this. Adobe Snap is one that I use a lot as well. This is here on my phone, I click into I'm on the mobile app of Google Drive, and there's a scan feature that then you take a picture of the document and then you kind of fix the cropping to make sure that it hits all the corners, and then you click done and you can take more pictures, and you can also play around with some coloring, formatting. It's pretty robust for something that's free and just sitting there on your phone, unless you haven't downloaded the Google Drive mobile app, which I recommend that you do. Again, it's a little bit of a long video that just shows exactly what I just said. Is snap the picture, it saves it immediately into your drive. You can add additional pages. It does help if you make it so that it's not curved. Flatten the pages definitely works a little bit better. But then you can save that directly into Drive and have a PDF made from any paper source. Okay, so let's say that your final product has to be exactly in that format. You cannot deviate. What can you do? Well, the real answer is Adobe Acrobat. Adobe invented the PDF. It is now open source, but Acrobat is the original and best PDF editing software. This is not a sales pitch for Adobe, but it's relatively affordable for education, something to think about. So when you're thinking like tax forms, ISB credit reports, records, typically when those are created by the creator of the PDF, they'll include fillable text boxes. If you have access to Adobe Acrobat, you can add those text boxes in to other formats as well. The vast majority of us probably don't have access to Adobe Acrobat. There are other ones, but we're going to spend the majority of our time going through the other tools, but definitely know that Acrobat is an option. Okay, here's where we really get into it, is replicating the experience. So how can I take a PDF and add interactive layers on top of it without paying for Adobe? The first step is see if you can just turn it into a Google Doc. Now, mileage is going to vary. This doesn't always work out very well, but it's something to think about. If you open a PDF and do open with Google Docs, Google will try its best to take that and turn it into a Google document that then you can kind of play with the formatting, fix it up, and always have that Google Doc with you forever. You can reshare it and never have to think about how do I add interactivity because it's a Google Doc. So it has all of those features just built in there. Text heavy ones work better than ones with images. The PDF that I'm going to use for most of my examples does not work in this format, but definitely know it is an option to try. I've included this video here. We're not going to walk through the whole process, but I know the super popular method right now is using Google Slides, and you take an image of your PDF, doing a screenshot, and put that in as the background of the slide. And then you can add text boxes, or I like this one a little better because she uses tables, which don't move as easily as text boxes. So that is definitely an option. And when we get towards the end, if that's something you want to dive deeper into, I'm happy to show that whole process. This is a good video that explains that as well. This next one is my personal favorite. And for those of you who have been in sessions with me before, probably are aware that I am not a big iPad fan. I'm a Chromebook guy mostly. But the iPad app has the coolest feature built in. So if you are working with students that have access to iPads, all you need to do is have the Classroom mobile app, and you can write directly on top of any PDF. So in the mobile app, if they open a PDF and then click that little pencil icon, it creates a new layer. And with either your finger or an Apple Pencil, you can draw right on top of a PDF. No other work required. Just open it on an iPad or an Android tablet. It does work in Android as well. And you can just go right in and voila, right all over the PDF. Now, the next one is near and dear to my heart as the Chromebook guy. Unfortunately, this is incredibly rare in Chicago public schools. But if your students have access to a touchscreen Chromebook, and I'm showing this more for where the future is. Oh, if you do that, can you save? Terry, is this in terms of the iPad question?
Yes, exactly. So if a student writes on that, can they take a picture and they can save that, or how does that work?
It's actually even cooler than that. I'm going to grab my iPad, join this meet. So what it does is it actually, you guys seeing the iPad screen here?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So you go into Classroom, and this is also if you're a teacher who likes to write on your students' assignments and you have an iPad, you can even do this on your iPad. Really cool. So in the Classroom, I'm going to go into classwork. And what this actually does is it creates a second PDF for the assignment. So here's the students. Here we go. So this student it'll say edited dash, and that's the new PDF. So when they go to turn this in, and you can see this one's one I did in blue ink. When they go to turn it in, it'll turn in, this will turn in both attachments. I only want to do one of them, so I'm going to remove that one. And the student turns in the PDF, and then I, as the teacher, this always takes longer to load up because I have so many classrooms. I'll just keep talking while that goes. So then as the teacher, I can see that turned in PDF, the edited version which has all of their annotations on top. And then I can go in and open that and write my notes right on top. So here's my student, and notice this is the version they've turned in. And then I, as the teacher, can go in doing that same process. And let's say I know no red ink, but I'm going to use red anyway. And I can do that and plus, and you didn't do that. Name, I don't know, whatever. And I can put my notes on top. And then when I hit save, all of my annotations go back to the student, and then they get to see this as well. So really, really cool little piece of tech there that is built right into the iPads. As I said, this one is more of a kind of a feature coming to us. It does exist right now in the wild, but there are very few touchscreen Chromebooks. But what I'm hoping this is a sign of things to come. So on a Chromebook that has a touchscreen, when you open a PDF, that little pencil mark exists there as well. And you can open this up and draw right on top of the PDF just natively. Now, what I hope is that Google working on this on their Chromebooks means that they'll be able to integrate with the web version of Classroom to allow us to do this. I don't know that's the case, but this is my deepest hope and desire, is that they bring a full inking experience to their web products as well as their mobile apps. Again, touchscreen Chromebook required for this one, but it is very cool and makes me excited for the future. So then we can start looking at the third-party apps, and there are so many. I'm just going to focus on a couple that we can play around with, and we're going to start with free stuff. So there is an extension called Web Paint. This extension is free and does some cool things. Even as a teacher, this is something you may want to think about. It was actually a math teacher that showed me this extension. And I'm actually going to go ahead and present my entire screen and just do it real quick. So what this extension does is it adds a layer onto any web page. So you click the extension, turn it on, and then you can grab, let's say, a pencil, and I can say, here, do that. Or Krista. And I'm doing this with my mouse right now, so it's not the most beautiful work, but it can be done with a trackpad. It can be done with a mouse. And then at the end of this, you would take a screenshot, and then you can upload that screenshot. Maybe not the most user friendly thing in the world, but it is very easy for the most part. That's the main key here, is remembering to hit the quit button, but it works quite nicely and is definitely one that is worth exploring, because your students can just install that extension and then draw right over any web page, which could be the PDF that we were demoing earlier. So here's that same PDF that I've been using, and here I am just going through using the Web Paint extension to draw directly onto that, and then I would take a screenshot and share it. The extension is called Web Paint. Another free one using an experimental kind of secret hidden tool power in like Google's always putting out little experiments. And this is one I think is really cool that, again, I think is a vision of things to come for the web. And this is called Chrome app for Canvas app for Chrome. And it's at canvas.app.chrome. And it's a web paint layer, just kind of like that extension we were just showing. That is a fairly full featured drawing tools. Again, if you're on an iPad, you can open this up in browser If you've got a touchscreen Chromebook or a Surface, not to go against my friends, I am actually on a PC right now, but anything that has a browser, you can open up and use this tool. And it also allows you to open an image. So again, if we take a screenshot of our PDF, share that with students. Now, this one I can imagine it's a little bit more set up. It doesn't work with Google Drive. So that whole grabbing the image and opening it in Canvas might be a challenge for a number of students. But again, right there in the web, totally free, definitely worth exploring. Okay, now we get into the stuff that has costs. Cami is totally amazing. It is not free, but a lot of the free or a lot of the good pieces for basic PDF annotation are free. And it's an add on and an extension that you can share out with students. And so you upload your PDF into Cami. And then when you share it out with students, they get a variety of tools. And again, more tools with the paid version, but the basic drawing tools are included in the free. And so you can just have them go right in. And again, using either touchscreen stylus or your mouse or your trackpad, you can write right on top. And again, I'm focusing kind of on the drawing tools, but all of these do also have that text layer as well. What is the major difference between the mobile classroom app and Cami? Great question, Margaret. Not much. Cami does have more features, so it is definitely a more full-featured platform. I sometimes talk about tools versus platforms. Google Classroom mobile app is definitely a tool, whereas Cami is a full-featured platform that's got built-in, I think there's even like built-in screen readers. It's got a lot more features built into it. Now, the other question is, are there other ways to assess the learning? Does it need to be your PDF, your worksheet? And I'm not saying PDFs and worksheets are bad, but when we start thinking about these things, if the worksheet is just multiple choice, a quiz probably makes more sense and it grades it for you. Video responses are becoming more and more popular because it's hard to cheat when you're staring into the screen and talking about your work and how you got there. So screencasts using either Screencastify or any of the other ones that are out there. Flipgrid can be used for students to talk through their thinking. And maybe that's what you're really interested in assessing, right? And then the ability to upload drawings or photos of paperwork can definitely be used. Again, the mobile app has the ability to go directly into the camera, but you can also use insert from camera in both slides and in docs. So if you go to insert image camera, it'll open up your webcam, and then you can just take a picture of your awesome assignment. You can resize it, you can crop yourself out, you can probably get really good at holding it up, or again, change the way that you're doing it, put it flat on the surface. But this can be done in slides and also in docs. So there are a myriad of ways we can start thinking about bringing in all of these other kind of traditionally paper-based tools into our digital space. With that, I'm going to scroll back and ask, what have you tried that's worked? And then we'll go into a little bit of playtime and a little bit of answering questions. There we go. So what has worked for you and your students? And yes, Jeannie, you're not alone. A lot of people keep telling me that I've got a face for radio.
Yeah,
I've at
it's
least got
very
the hookup
soothing.
for it. I try, like this stuff can get really stressful, but we can also keep playing. Okay, well, I'm going to pop the slide deck back in just from here. And I'm going to say go in and choose one of the options, kind of play around with it. I'm here to answer any questions as you go. but I'd like to give you a little bit of hands-on time to play around with whichever one kind of interested you. So if you have any questions, again, I am here, but let's take the next 15 minutes and just kind of get our hands dirty and play around and try out some of these ways. All right, so taking a screenshot of text, I tried to make it larger, the full size of the page. Now it's blurry in my Google slide in landscape. One of the things you might want to try there, and this is something I like to do in slides anyway. I actually really love slides for two features, order and alignment. So the ability to layer things is very cool. And the ability to insert video and audio directly in so you can make it much more helpful. But the other thing that you can do is go to the page setup and change it from the standard formats and go to custom and make it paper sizing. And that might help a little bit with some of the screenshots and getting the PDFs to sit right in your slide. And when you add the image, you want to add it as a background so that students can't move it around. So let's see, let me find what I've been using. Open that in a new window. And I'm actually going to try shrinking it here. And again, I'm using an old version of Snagit here. Snipping tool might also work, would also work. So I've snipped it, background, choose image, upload, find the one I just did. Yeah. Does that help at all with your question on the blurriness? Is I think maybe adding it as the background, was that something that you were doing? Perfect. Okay, awesome.
Can I ask a quick question on just on top of that? So once you've done that, do you need to download it as a PNG, or once it's the background, is it set and the student cannot move it?
Yeah, once it's set as the background, students can't move that.
Because I've been doing that and then downloading it as a PNG, or you know, or taking that and then actually, you know, and then using, actually creating the slide, downloading it as a PNG, and then re-uploading that as the slide, and then they can't move it at all. But it does, after a while, it does start to get a little blurry.
Yeah, and that also feels like a lot of extra work. I'm all about trying to streamline things. So
Okay.
as much as the student may, you know, the student could go in and hit change the background, but when they turn it in, you'll know.
Okay, thank you.
And that's a pretty quick lesson of, well, you would have had an A if you hadn't done this.
But also, if they change the background and all you can see now is their answers, okay, even better.
Yeah, that might be easier to read.
Yes. And as the timekeeper, I haven't been doing my job. It is now 4:46, so it's officially 15 or 16 minutes since we left each other. So if you, I'm just letting you know as the timekeeper.
What did you guys try? What did you like? What did you not like?
Sorry, my fingers are slow. The video you provided, the link about using tables on, you know, to create writable PDFs, it really is very, you know, it's really good.
Oh yeah, no, that, yeah. Especially the thing about it is a little harder to move a table than it is a text box,
right?
Which I think is going to be, I think that's going to be nice. Yeah, that was a new one for me. I saw that this weekend and was like, brilliant. Folks that have used Cami, do you want to talk about the experience a little bit more, or do kids like it? Do they hate it? Do they meh?
I can talk about Cami.
Hey, Krista.
Hey, how's it going? So I've actually because in assistive technology, we're using some other tools like read and write. And I've had teams who've been using other tools for a while, discovered Kami and found it just a lot more user-friendly. And they've kind of switched to using that for their PDFs. It has really great features. I'm not sure how long the free version lasts because I feel like I've had it forever and still have access to text to speech and the dictation button and all the highlighters. So I do know there are two different kinds of Kami. One says annotate with Kami, which would be great for all students. And I think that has all of the, text boxes and highlighting features. And then there's another one called Kami OCR, which is to open up the PDFs that you need to use text to speech, but that's getting a little too into it.
Yeah.
So, but annotate for Kami is the one that I think most students would need. Yeah.
Nice. I get really excited about OCR because that's really where, once that means optical character recognition. It's something that's coming into more and more platforms where it can read the text from the PDF and make it accessible for our students. It also makes it, in a lot of cases, where you can actually then modify it and kind of do more fun stuff. There's a lot of cool tech happening all around us right now that are going to make these things better. Most of it is helpful right now, but it's always good to know what's coming in the future as well. Anybody else try anything that they want to share with the group? And if not, that's okay too. Missy, have you seen any cool PDF stuff lately?
Not other than the things that we've really talked about. I think people are just sort of finding the one thing that I have seen that is sort of like this, but people have been putting PDFs in Jamboard or images in Jamboard. So instead of creating PDFs, they have they're assigning Jamboards with images. So it's not actually a PDF, it's an image. And then students are using Jamboard tools to write on the Jamboard. So it's just interesting. You can assign a Jamboard just like any other document, make a copy for each student, which is a little bit irritating since Jamboards are meant to be a shared collaborative document. But it is one tool that we know all students automatically have access to. The other thing that I've seen, which I think is really cool, same with using Jamboard, is just students like practicing their Arabic language in Jamboard. So it's writing and writing sentences and things like that using sort of a drawing tool or the drawing features in Jamboard. And Jamboard, as you know, Ron, it works even better on the mobile devices. So there's increased functionality. So I've seen teachers using interesting things in Jamboard recently.
And that's been my favorite part of all of this is you guys are so innovative without realizing it. Like I never would have thought to use Jamboard for PDFs, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I've seen people doing like teachers with young students doing like calendar work or practicing times tables. Teachers are using it in really creative synchronous and asynchronous ways.
Well, with just a few minutes left, I will show off one other thing that I just learned about a couple of weeks ago and haven't really honestly had much reason to use it. But if you are a school that has or a teacher that has purchased Adobe Creative Cloud or Adobe Acrobat, it does now integrate with Drive. So there is a Adobe Acrobat add-on. So it is a Drive add-on that you can add that then adds it into your connected apps. And it'll open up Adobe Acrobat right here in Drive. And it's not 100% full featured. The desktop app is definitely far more powerful, but it does have a lot of the features available I have not even signed in with this particular one, but you've got, your highlighter tools. There is a little bit of a drag and draw thing as well. The text tools. I'm actually not super interested because I'm not signed in and it's letting me do that. I wonder if it'll save. Well, oh, it did save those. Huh. This definitely bears a lot more checking out. That kind of surprised me because I wasn't signed in. Well, I want to thank you all for hanging out with us this afternoon. I know you had a long, busy day of teaching, and thank you for coming and hanging out with us. I hope you gained something from this. If there's a particular feature that you would like me to go more in depth in next time, just let me know, and we could do a full hour on just how to use the mobile app or just how to use I don't know, Adobe Acrobat. But I'm more than willing. My entire job is to support you, and that's about it. We've got about 2 minutes left, but thank you, and thank you, Tijuana. I'm happy to help.